Welcome to OSDU Data Platform Application Developer Training. In this presentation, we will focus on the services that help us to work with the files and their storages. These services provide a standardized API for every provider. The first service to upload source files is the file service. Source files contain specific information about work product component, such as well logs, trajectories, or markers. The format of these files may be LAS, CSV, and so on. The OSDU file service provides internal and external API endpoints that allow an application or user to allot the space to upload files or get the location of already uploaded files. For example, a user can request the service to generate a signed URL and then use it to upload a file to the storage. The file service was mainly used in R2 data uploading process. It is also used in R3, but it's going to be supplemented with DataSet service. First, let's define data that you are going to be able to deal with. Each file has a metadata record. It is the description of the file. For instance, extension, content description, location. This record is required so that you can get access to the file content. Note that uploading a file into the system is not enough. You also have to create the file metadata. To get a file from the system, this file should be stored in the file persistent area. Transferring a file to this area requires several actions. First, request the signed URL from the file service and then upload the file to the acquired URL. This request will upload the file to the staging area, so you don't have access to the file at this moment. Next, upload the file metadata via the file service. Metadata is linked with a specific file. When the record is created, the file service transfers the file to the persistent area. Note that metadata is an OSDU usual record. While you can upload this record via storage, the file will not be transferred to persistent area. Therefore, you need to use the file service for this process. After uploading metadata requests, you will be able to get file via the file API by providing metadata ID as part of the request. This request returns the signed URL of this file. The file service cannot work with directories needed for seismic data, for instance. So there is a new service in development. It's called DataSet service. DataSet service requires various OSDU services to be registered per dataset schema type. For example, subtype dataset file can be mapped to service 1, and subtype dataset file collection can be mapped to service 2. This mapping between kinds and services defines the workflows to upload and retrieve source files and register the metadata. This may be different depending on cloud providers. The major advantage of DataSet service is that it works with dataset of files instead of a single one. So this allows us to use this service for working with file collections like OpenVDS format of seismic data. Uploading source files via DataSet service is similar to uploading files via file service. A user can request the service to generate an instruction for uploading files. It can be signed URL or other options depending on the provider. You must also create a dataset registry which should be linked to specific file collections. After uploading dataset registry request, you can get files via dataset API by providing registry ID as part of the request. Now let's reproduce the whole process. The first request is used to get the signed URL and file source for file. The file source will be added to our metadata record. The next step is to upload file by the signed URL. The request body contains the file. In this case, this is a CSV file. When the file is uploaded, we should create metadata for this file. As mentioned before, we use the file service for this purpose. The record will hold all the information about the file. For example, as part of dataset properties, we put file source information that we have saved from the first request. As a result of this request, the file is transferred to the persistent area. So now we can get it back. And now we can get the file signed URL from the file service. We provide the saved record ID as part of our URL. The response is a new signed URL and is a link to the persistent area. Let's verify that we can get this file by this URL. Now let's reproduce the whole process via DataSet service. The first request is to get the instructions for uploading files. In the query parameters, the kind subtype field specifies the subtype we are getting instructions for. In this example, it is DataSet file collection. The next step is to upload files by options provided in previous request. The request body contains the source file, which in this case is a CSV file. This file will be uploaded to the storage with the folder name and file name specified in the query parameter. This implementation is cloud specific. When the files are uploaded, we should register the dataset in the system. The record must contain the link to the storage folder which was provided in request number 1. The subtype of this record should be dataset file collection. As a result, we receive the dataset registry ID. Now we can get instructions for downloading our file from the system. We provide the ID of the saved record as part of the request body. Now let's verify that we can get these files by this URL. Thank you.